Early, when I was a kid, I had an epiphanous moment where I had a really interesting experience of realizing like a visceral level, a really deep feeling level, that if I wasn't healthy, that I couldn't interact with my environment right. And it was something that was very profound. And so most of my life, I've been really interested in health and well-being one way or another. And so by the time I was a teenager, I started looking into vegetarianism, started looking into meditation, doing a lot of different practices. I've always laid hands on people. I've been a massage therapist for 20 years, and I do healing work that's kind of from the heart. And this all fits into that in healing myself, in healing, helping other people to take care of themselves, and helping other people to be able to relate to each other and to the planet in a more healthy way. Because so much of what we do is moderated by what's happening in our brains and what's happening in our bodies. It's like the first layer that we have to get through in order to interact with each other and be in a relationship with each other is all the stuff that's here first. I bought into the vegetarian idea for a long time. Spent time in India. I spent, a lot of time doing various meditation practices and spiritual practices. And when I first had people talk to me about how, they'd never seen a vegetarian person actually recover fully from a chronic illness or very severe illness without eating meat, I was just like, oh no, that's nonsense. But in the last 2 years, I started drinking raw milk. It was a little bit of a random coincidence kind of thing where I was in a situation, there was nothing but raw milk, and I was like, okay, I'll try it. And my body sucked it up. And it was like, give me more. And I started using raw milk. And not only did I just immediately feel good, because I did, and I could tell my body really liked it, and I'd always not been able to digest it well. I never liked it, never felt good, and this felt good. Right. But then my allergies went away. Like all the rest of my allergies went away, and I've been allergy-ridden since I was a kid. So as far as the information availability, all of a sudden a whole world opened for me, and I started looking into the farms, and I started looking into, and I've known Elena, who's putting this conference on, for 17 years. And so, all of a sudden, I was very interested into following up with what she was doing. And this was about the time she opened her Culture Club 101 business. And so I've been very much involved with her there. And I've been doing public speaking about real food for the last year. And I'm working on a book that's about deconstructing myths in society, and not just around food, but also around money and energy and other things, medicine. And the food one is huge. The food one is it's so deep, it's so broad, it's vast, the degree to which we've been conditioned to believe things, and their understandings have been manipulated. And there's almost no end to it. I keep thinking I'm done with the subjects I have to talk about in the book that I'm writing. And it was going to be a book. Now it's going to be a book about food, and it's going to be a book about money, and it's going to be a book about, so it's always going to be like 4 or 5. But the one about food is 200 pages long, and I'm not done writing yet, which is great, and it's not done yet. I talked today about MSG, and I talked today about soy, and I haven't been including that in my lectures and my public presentations because I have too many hours of things to share with people. The fundamental thing that needs shifting is that we've lost our relationship with not just the producers of our food, but actually at the deeper level with the planet that's producing the food. And it starts with reinstating our relationship with the farmers. What's happened is that the middleman controls everything about our commerce. And again, this is not just about food. But in food, the middleman tells the farmer what to grow, how to grow it, when to grow it, what feed to use. They give them the equipment, they loan them, they provide the loans, they set the terms, they tell them exactly how much money they're going to get paid, exactly how much production they have to do, exactly how they're going to do everything. And then at the other end, the middleman tells the consumer what they're going to eat, how much they're going to pay for it, et cetera, et cetera. And the consumer and the producer never meet. They have no relationship. They're completely divorced from each other. And that is the source of why this is so out of balance. It's because the middleman controls every aspect of it, and the middleman has inserted themselves, the industrialized food producers have inserted themselves, so they're in complete control on both sides. They're in complete control of what gets grown, how it gets packaged, how it gets labeled, how it gets shipped, how it gets stored, how it gets, advertised, and who consumes it and why and wherefore. And that's the thing. And that's why what we're doing here today makes such a difference, because what's going on here today is people are meeting the people that grow their food. They're meeting the people that run the farm. And they're learning how to be in relationship again, and they can feel the difference, not just in the food, but they can feel the difference in themselves in having that relationship. It actually reconnects you not just, again, to the food, to the farm, to the farmer, but to yourself. It has this effect on you when you start culturing your own yogurt, or culturing your milk, or making your own cultured vegetable products, and you start knowing where your eggs are coming from and where your milk is coming from, and you actually maybe own the cow, for instance. It changes how you relate to yourself. It puts you back in relationship with the planet, with the farmers, and with yourself at a deeper level. So that's what I see as the main disconnect. That's how this has happened, is the middleman's in control. Some would, some wouldn't. Because so many people have become acclimated to the poisons. So many people don't feel it. They don't know that what they're eating, they have no sensitivity to how it's affecting them. They actually don't notice it. It's because they have been conditioned to this kind of food, to the food that doesn't have real energy in it, that doesn't have real nutrients in it, because they've been conditioned to going to the doctor to fix all of their problems. They actually don't know that it's the food. And so there's a whole subsection of humans right now that can't tell that they're not healthy. They actually are disconnected from their body to the degree that they don't get it. And so, you talk to them about organic food, you talk to them about pasture-raised foods, you talk to them about any of this stuff, and they might drink it, but they might know it right. And it might not just be in their head it goes over, it might be that they don't notice, that they're so filled with toxins that their body, with massage therapy, when you work on somebody, it's almost a given. You'll find areas where they're very, very tight and they don't know it. You might, if you've had a massage, you've probably had this experience. It's like, God, that's way tighter. I didn't know it was so tight. This is a holistic experience. It's an example of what's happening at a much larger scale. Of we are insensitive to things, and we have become acclimated to things that aren't good for us, and we're no longer conscious of it. Your nervous system stops giving you the information if you stop responding to it. If you ignore it and ignore it and ignore it and ignore it long enough, your nervous system actually says, okay, I'll acclimate. I'll figure it out. I'll get by. And that's how humans are. And so a lot of humans don't have the sensitivity now to know the difference. It's a growing minority that are waking up and wanting to shift things, that are realizing how out of balance things are, that are willing to be more responsible. It's because it's very comfortable what we were given. Everything's taken care of. The doctor will tell you what medicines you need. The supermarket will provide you all the food you need. The gas station and your local utility will provide you all the energy you need. You don't need to worry about it. Everything's fine. Well, it's very comfortable. It's very easy. Many people are addicted to that. I'm addicted to it in a lot of ways. I've been addicted to it, and so humanity has to become more adult in being responsible for the consequences of their choices. That's not necessarily an easy thing to do. We're poisoning aquifers. We destroyed the Gulf of Mexico. We don't want to talk about it, but large mammals were burning on the surface of the Gulf of Mexico while they were clearing the oil. The degree of environmental destruction we're willing to tolerate right now has never been seen before. What's going on in Japan is another example. We won't have any idea of the consequences of this for probably a couple generations. So the effects that we're having are on a much broader scale. The degree of poisoning of our environment internally as well as externally has never been at this level, where people's brain chemistry is so altered all the time. from the food they're eating, from the drugs they're taking, from the air they're breathing, from what's in their water. This is all at a scale that's never existed on the planet before. Well, it has everything to do with who's in control of the system to begin with, and the degree, this is one of the things I speak to, is the degree of control of the media and the underlying beliefs and understandings that people are starting with. It's hard to set aside what you've taken to be true, or you've taken as gospel for most of your life. You go to school. You get an undergraduate degree, you get a graduate degree, you get a PhD, you go to work in a professional environment, and then somebody is going to come along and is going to tell you that they've been lying to you. That's hard. It's hard. A lot of people are really pushed up against not having to let go of the things they've put trust and faith in all of their life. And so that's hard. That's at a personal level. At a societal level, the things that are the resistance has to do with money. Has to do with power, has to do with control of society. There's small groups of people that control these large sectors of society: medicine, money, food, energy. Small numbers of people that profit greatly from the control systems, from the distribution systems. We don't need to be using fossil fuels. The fossil fuel thing is amazing. We have fossil fuel deposits in the United States that will provide enough energy for the United States for hundreds of years. You can go on the U.S. Geological Service website and look at these things. Hundreds of years. So why are we paying so much for fossil fuels? We're paying so much for fossil fuels because it's totally made up. Totally made up shortage, totally made up, and I'm not going to say it's good to use fossil fuels. I'm not making that argument at all. We shouldn't be using them in the first place. The reason we're still using them is because people make a lot of money at it, and people keep control using them. And the banks keep control over us by making us use money that's based in debt. And the industrialized food product producers keep us under control by controlling how we grow our food and what we eat. Why aren't we all growing our own gardens? Why are there laws that I can't grow a garden in the front of my apartment complex? All over the world, all over the country. Your various homeowners associations, you can't grow a garden in your yard, right? In Russia now, and I haven't confirmed this myself, I have been told that in Russia, 50% of the produce produced in Russia is grown in backyard gardens now. It's not a big deal to grow your own food. It just doesn't even take that much space or effort, if that was our intent. And again, people have they've adapted and they've become comfortable with this degree of being taken care of. Here, we'll provide you with what you need. We'll give you the energy. You just have to turn the light switch on. You don't have to worry about where it came from. Pasadena, 60% of our energy comes from burning coal. And Pasadena holds itself out as some progressive sort of, city or something. Nonsense. So the reasons have everything to do with control, money and control. People's willingness to change, people's willingness to be responsible, not just for themselves, but for their government and for their businesses. People's willingness to actually take risks for, jumping into the unknown, taking, it might not turn out. It might not turn out right away. We might be fighting the good fight, quote unquote, for future generations. We might not be the recipients of the benefits. That's the reality. That's reality for you and me and all the people here. It might be that it's a slog and we don't get all the benefits, but maybe our children or our grandchildren do. It's hard to get funding to do, like as I was speaking about, to do a side-by-side study of what happens if you feed people pasteurized homogenized milk versus you feed them whole raw milk. Nobody will do the study. They won't do it. It just hasn't happened. It's been 60 years since any side-by-side animal study has been done on the differences between feeding an animal or a human being pasteurized homogenized milk versus feeding them raw whole milk. They won't do it. Okay, so there is a huge, huge amount of repression of information going on in the academic world, in the professional world, in the regulatory world, in the governmental world. So, and media is responsible at some level, but also all of us are responsible in that we're letting these people get away with that. We're letting it be okay that they're taking advantage, that they're making huge amounts of money, feeding us food that makes us ill, that we have to buy medicine for, that keeps us ill, that we have to keep buying more medicine for, that pollutes our environment and pollutes our bodies. So some of it is ignorance. And some of it is this entrenched, the train is going so fast and going so long in this one direction that it's very hard to stand up in front of it and, and not look like an idiot or not be squashed flat or both. First you got to be willing to look like an idiot, and then you also got to be willing to get squashed flat at some level. Now, hopefully not. I'm all for, thousands of people learning about this tomorrow and taking the message. From my perspective, what has to happen is I give these presentations, Elena does the work that she's doing, and then 100 other people decide to do what we are doing because of what we are doing. 100 other people decide to do what we are doing. Realize that each of them is going to generate 100 other people deciding to do what we're doing. That's what changes it. That's what changes it, is the people that show up at a culture club and volunteer because they know there's a reason for it. Our food system is totally controlled, our energy system is totally controlled, our money is totally controlled, and it's not for our own good. So the powers that be that are benefiting from this are going to hold tighter and tighter. And you can see that by what's going on around the world as far as control of resource areas, whether it's control of Afghanistan, control of Iraq, control of Libya, so on and so forth. You can see what's going on. This is not about our country doing something, NATO doing something. This is about global control of resources in the hands of the people that are used to having that control. So they are acting more and more outwardly, more and more decisively to have that kind of global influence. So you're going to see more of that. It's going to be less comfortable. It's going to be more insistent. It's going to be more in our faces. And so it's going to require people to be doing new things. And people are responding. More and more people are like, look, I'm just not paying attention to that. I'm going to grow my food. And, some people are taking a lot of significant steps as far as I will not continue to support that. The end result, I think, is pretty hopeful, and at some level that's self-serving. I want to believe that because it's kind of nicer to believe that the end result is hopeful. But a lot of people are doing a lot of great things. A lot of people are really committed. A lot of people are feeling a change, and I don't gainsay the power of a small group of committed people to change the world.